Well, welcome KK to this interview. Thinking about spending some time with you, getting to know who you are and who you are specifically as an author. I am celebrating and creating a platform for South African authors, just believing and wanting to highlight the wisdom of local writers who have put their thoughts, put their insights, put their experience into a book of some kind, and it's available for us. And let's take advantage of that as South Africans and celebrate our local talent. So thank you, KK, for being on board. KK, you and I have known each other for 10, 12 years. We lose track after a while. And we've worked together in the sales and negotiation, development and consulting arena. And then we've done various other projects in your own business, in the digital transformation space. So we keep connecting and linking, and have enjoyed that tremendously. So tell us a little bit about, first of all, how are you and how are you feeling about the interview?
Lee, thank you very much for the opportunity. I don't even know where to start, but your name is at top of the list. When I talk about just the support and the mentorship that I've had over the last 12 years, through yourself and people like Kim Meredith and others. So I really appreciate having walked the journey with you and knowing that there are people such as yourself that I can always call on to. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the opportunity to be interviewed. I think myself included, I don't think we do enough to appreciate local authors and, just local content developers, so to speak. And I think, during COVID-19, it's one of those opportunities where one of those times we're getting to press on that reset button and say, hey, just like how you did, you said, you know what, we've got talent here, we've got wisdom here. Why don't we appreciate that? So thank you for that opportunity. For those who don't know who I am, I'm KK Diaz. Obviously KK are my initials. My first two names are Khati, Kujo. My surname is Diaz. I am Northern Sotho, so I was born in Polokwane. I'm Pedi. And I've been an entrepreneur since I was 9 years old. I'm 41 years old now, and I've learned, so much, a lot of it through failure and of course through experience, and equally from mentoring and coaching. And I've just taken everything that I've learned along the way, or as much as I could, and I've put it in the books that I've written. I don't do enough blog articles, I think, because all the different blog articles that I take, I end up taking those pieces and including them in the books, and not necessarily publish or release them as blog articles as such. And how I am, I'm in good spirits. I think I've had the privilege of having some of the best people around me in terms of mentorship, coaching, support. So I've always, I guess I've been in training all of this time, and I'm doing much better than I think a lot of people are emotionally, mentally, and otherwise. And I think it's really that time where businesses such as mine that are in the kind of consulting and digital transformation consulting, where we're seeing a little bit more of demand. So again, I'm in good spirits as a result of all of those things coming together.
Fantastic, KK. And KK, I know that there's many dimensions to your life and your work and your business. We could spend a couple of hours actually kind of delving. But I'm going to focus specifically on KK, the author, because there's some real nuggets, some real value, and some wisdom that comes through what you've condensed into your books. And so let's start with the first one, the climb. So that has a very interesting story. In fact, it's a reflection of a specific climb and a specific journey. And it's an amazing story that I think brings together so much who you are and what you what you've accomplished and continue to do. So why don't you just tell us the story of the climb?
You know, that always brings you know, a smile in my heart and on my face, just how beautiful and unplanned just that whole journey, that whole process was. I had been going through what I think was a rough patch in my life. You know, it was one of those times where I needed to reset the press the reset button, so to speak. But just like COVID-19, forces beyond ourselves will actually do that for us and help us to get back onto the journey that we are supposed to be on. So, and I remember how broke I was, where at least where the catalyst of the process was. And Carl Bates, through Sadar Group, they were hosting one of those expensive 2 to 3 day conferences, and it was held at the Radisson Blu in Sandton. And because you know, Carl Bates was somebody I'd been following for about 2 years at the time, I thought, and I'd heard him talk about this conference a lot. I said, you know what, I want to go and attend, and I'm going to put together all the money I had left and attend this conference. It was an amazing conference, and I'm so happy that I went. And, you know, when I arrived there, I believe it was the second day, they had Ronnie Mule, who was one of the external speakers who would come in after a couple of hours once the traditional conference stuff had taken place. And he spoke about his climb of not only of Mount Kilimanjaro, but of Mount Everest as well. And I was blown away, right? I was so blown away. And at the same time, I'm like, wow, you know, that's so adventurous. I'd never done anything that adventurous. And this was 2010, maybe. Yeah, around 2010 or the year before. So, you know, I get the years wrong. But anyway, I had been a coach and a consultant for a few years already by then. More so of a consultant. In those 3 years, I'd been planning to, you know, to do rebranding myself. And I had been speaking to so many business coaches, rather so many business people, you know, people who are professionals, business executives, entrepreneurs, and all of this time, as a grand goal and a grand vision person, you know, I believe I'm a visionary, so I like to sell big goals to people and help them to achieve those big goals. And 80% of the time, people are just not ready for it, and they're not ready because they believe they don't have what it takes. And I so wanted to prove to them that they actually do. And you can have conversations about business in general. And, you know, people will say, yeah, but KK, you've started so many businesses, so you know what you're talking about. You've done it before. And so every time I talk about them either growing their businesses or starting a new business unit of some sort, they just didn't take me serious because I somewhat had the talent and the experience. I said, okay, I'm going to bet you that I can do something I'd never done before. And another excuse that I hear a lot is I don't have the money to do what you're asking me to do. And I said, okay, I'm going to do something that I don't have experience in. It must be massive. It must be big. And secondly, I mustn't use my own money to prove to you that if you follow these principles that I've always trying to show you and share with you, that you can actually achieve this massive goal. And then when I heard Ronnie Mule, that's when I picked the goal. I said, that is the goal that I must go for, which is to climb on Kilimanjaro, which is the highest point on the African continent. I'm not going to use my own money. And it was clearly something I'm not used to doing. I'd never done before. I don't climb mountains. I'm not necessarily an outdoorsy person. And that was when I discovered the destiny and the goal that was going to help me encapsulate this dream and this big vision that I can sell to people. And for about 2 years, I was kind of just taking things slowly because people were not taking me serious. I said, you know what, I'm going to show you. And then in 2013, late 2012, I met the late Dr. Tani Ndlovu, who was one of the people that, you know, supported me a lot. She actually coached me, you know, throughout the journey, how to climb mountain, starting with how to tie my shoes, okay? And it's about learning how to put on the shoes before you start your journey and how to tie them right so that when you walk, when you walk on that journey, you are very intentional with the walk. And that's where that journey started. And a few months later, I find myself, I believe, just before seeing my entire life flash right in front of me, not because I was facing death as such, not literally, but metaphorically, spiritually. And I tell people that I literally died on that mountain when I reached the summit. And the person you all see today, and I know you've come to see that, but when I summited that mountain and came down, I was a completely different person. The old KK died on that mountain. And during that time, during those few years, I had been writing what now became my second book. The A-Game Business Blueprint took me about 5 years to write, which we will get to. Anyway, I come back from the journey, from climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, and then I have one of my few sessions with one of my coaches at the time. I can't believe she's going to kill me if she realizes that I forgot her name. But anyway, I have my session with my coach at the time, and she says to me, I'd be very selfish if I don't share my story around the book. And she says she's not going to talk to me until I start the process of writing that book. And again, because of how the universe works, in a very short space of time, in less than 3 weeks, with the help of Andrew Miller, we penned the book. In under 3 weeks, this book, the process of writing it starts, and in December that year, it was done. That's it. I'd always had the dream of becoming an author, and it took me years to get to where I was with the A-Game business blueprint. And then the climb happens, literally the climb of Mount Kilimanjaro happens. I come back in September. I get requested to write the book. December, 3 weeks, the book is done. And January 2014, the book is published. And that was the climb. And I've been on a massive journey of self-discovery and just helping others since.
Just this picture of the KK that started the climb and the KK that came back, being two different people, that you basically shed a skin on top of that mountain and came back in a new skin, and that,
yes.
that person, the ideas that had wafted around in your mind about being an author. I've always wanted to be an author. It just, everything fell into place. It clicked. The person wanted to be,
yes.
the person that you were the same in that moment. And
yes.
I think that's such a lesson for us, isn't it? That's exactly what you were trying to prove. Is it's not just about talk. It's not about what we think we can do or what we think we can't do. And in fact, that's the byline of your book, isn't it? From Afrikaans to we can. And that's
100%
what you did. And you did it.
I did. And it was really about that. And as much as I was wanting to share lessons, it was more for me than anybody else. I needed that catapult, that rebirth myself.
And the author was birthed there as well. You climbed the mountain. It was a business project, and you had a business purpose for it, as well as a self-development purpose, a rebirthing self. But the person that was birthed in that process was also the author. And so you didn't just write the climb. The book that you'd been working on all the rest of the time was the blueprint, business blueprint. And you then wrote that, and you've now subsequently written 4 other books. So you actually have 5 books to your name. And so the author is well and truly authoring. What is it that you love about
it? So let's go back a few years before the books. I had, when I was growing up as a teenager, I'd always loved music. And when I was 19, 18 actually, I got involved in music groups with friends, which I write a little bit about that in the climb actually. And I even have, I remember I have an image in the book with me on stage with some friends of mine. So I got to start writing back then when I was 18, 19, when we were writing songs. And over the years, I helped other people write their songs. I founded my record label, Liberate Records, when I was 21, and helped bands across the spectrum. I mean, I remember we even won an awards with the United Nations Humanitarian Music Album Award years after that. And so writing became something that I had developed as a skill. Again, that, when I was young, I didn't realize that, hey, this is actually a skill that you didn't have, you've now developed, and you can do more with it. And so when I was writing blog articles and I was writing my thoughts and emails, it was just easier. It was easy, I thought, That helped me a lot because I already had the confidence of putting my thoughts on paper and actually sharing it with people. And that is the biggest challenge that most people have, is that it's not that you can't write. It's just you don't have the courage to share your thoughts and your feelings that are written down on paper with other people. And that's what I think a lot of people need to discover and actually realize.
KK, I think that's exactly what you overcame in the climb again, wasn't it? Is that courage? Is
exactly.
That you'd had the experience with your music and that had sort of set the tone and the foundation, but you've proven it to yourself that you can do it. And that's the beauty of doing something that other people can also look at and say, well, if he did it, I can do it.
100%.
And I guess it's that, and not to bring you down a peg, but it's like nothing. What's special about KK? Well, if he can do it, then I can do it. So
100%.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of things. I've also done a lot of things that I had done before. But the thing that I preach to people about getting a coach, getting a mentor, I've done that a lot along the way as I was learning new things. So Andrew Miller, he's still somebody that I rely on a lot, and Trevor Waller. Once I've written something, I say, please check it out for me. Andrew taught me how to write. Even post all the writing, I said, Andrew, I need you to teach me how to write. So I'd never been afraid of being vulnerable in front of people to say, I don't know how to do something, please teach me. I think that's what a lot of people need to learn properly. There's a lot that I need to learn even today. And I'm going to reach out to my mentors, to even strangers, and say, hey, even though I might be the KK Diaz, I'm still able to reach out to people and say, please help me with this. I still sign up for courses. Just this week alone, I signed up for 2 courses on how to buy businesses, it's already something I'm doing, right? I mean, already investing in businesses, but I still want to sharpen my skills and my knowledge and so on.
Yeah, that journey of lifelong learning and always feeling that you can grow and learn some more. So KK,
100%.
You continue to write after the climb, are all business focused. That came where you honed or focused your writing. Why is that? What is it about business that's so important to you?
The Sanskrit, the Indian Sanskrit wording actually have a term for this. We have what they call Vasanas, nature. We are born with a certain nature in us. And some people call it talent. Some people call it maybe natural inclination or natural talent. I strongly believe that mine is one of business, one of being an entrepreneur. Some people will be either a doctor, will be a teacher, will be a priest, or along those lines. But mine is that of an entrepreneur, one of business. And I mean, when I was 8, that's when my cousin and I, Vincent, started businesses. And I kind of discovered this when I was 9. I said, hey, Vincent, we've actually been doing this thing, which he actually introduced me to it. He's, somebody who's always, when we parted ways, because I stayed with his family for a few years when my mother went to college education, to teachers college, to upgrade her education in that space. And that's when we started selling stuff, and it was so natural. I literally realized 10 years later that, oh, is this what they call entrepreneurship? Actually, I'd been doing this thing this entire time. And I then worked for Sage, which was called Pastel at the time, when I was 22, 23, for about 2-3 years. That's when I truly learned the art of business, because I was helping businesses improve their payroll compliance, accounting compliance, implementing systems and training them how to use those systems. And it just opened my eyes up to this whole new world. And I started realizing where part of my failures were coming from is I didn't have processes, structure, systems to help run the business. And to answer your question, Lee, I'm writing these books primarily for myself first, because not only have I been learning through others and through observing and through helping clients, but I want to document what I'm learning so that I can share with others. But more importantly, it's for myself first. And the business blueprint was really a way for me to put the critical pieces of building a business, putting them together into a framework, into a methodology, which is now called the A-Game Business Blueprint. And after that, the books that followed were really subsections of that methodology, because it talks about personal development. And within personal development, there's things like purpose, personal vision, your values, and so on. And then the business model and the business strategy, marketing, sales, branding, corporate identity, and then the people components, culture, processes, and systems that will help you to systematize and to amplify that business. So those are the 4 pieces of the methodology, high level, that is. And the following books after that were really parts of the modules after that. And that's how all the other books came about. And I love business. And I think business is really a key to unlocking wealth and prosperity, especially for us Africans. And I think it's both a science and an art, which I love. I'm both logical and artistic and creative. So I love the combination of both. And also, maybe this is just as important for me and maybe for others. Hopefully others will come to appreciate this. Lee, I cannot separate my personal life from business. For me, they are one and the same. And so in as much as I've written about business books, I've been writing about my journey, so to speak, my personal life journey. And so that's been a way of me becoming the person that I've become, and hopefully will become a better person as I publish these books, because I learn a lot from the process.
Thanks, KK. Just for me, there's the sense of being absolutely personally invested and connected to what you're writing. So even though you're saying, oh, it's business, and we often, we use this thing, oh, well, it's either personal or it's, and you've conflated those and said, no, I am my business. I am in my business. And as I grow, my business grows. And as my business grows, I grow. And you sharing your growth journey with others.
Yes.
Who will be at different stages along the road. So yes. They're able to pick up where they are at and to be able to say, okay, I connect with this. And again, it's personal, isn't it? It's about me and what I can have, because business, while there are principles, it does relate back to who we are as individuals, and that makes every business unique.
True.
Yeah, but I want to come back. There's a thread that you use, or there words that are consistent in what you're saying even now and throughout your books. You talk about process, methodology, blueprint model.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
what is important about that?
Such a such a good question. And I honestly have to look inside to come up with an answer for that. There isn't anything that I personally have been able to do uh, better and ultimately well without following some sort of a process, i.e., what has Lee done or how does Lee go about formulating the best deals, okay, putting together the best deals, or how to go about training and developing someone, how to go about mentoring someone. I think the first time we do something, it's almost uninformed or ill-informed or not informed enough. But when you follow a process, when you follow a methodology, or when I do that at least, I get to do whatever it is that I'm trying to do better, right? A process, a system, a methodology enables me to improve on my intention. I'm able to be a lot more intentional with what I'm wanting to achieve. And it also provides me with precision. Then I improve the precision and the detail at which I'm wanting to do the activity or the task. It gives me a lot more detail and a lot more depth. And also it gives me the ability to repeat what I'm trying to achieve. It gives me the ability to repeat the success. So that's really why I love processes and systems so much. It's around intention, precision, and repetition. And also, I can then be able to achieve that success without me personally having to do it. Because once I have the process, the methodology, and the systems, I can take myself out of it, teach others on how to do it, and then they can continue to deliver that value and that success, and they can, repeat and repeat and repeat. That's why I love methodology, process, and if anything, we need to do more and more of that, i.e., build more businesses. We need to repeat the process of building more and more successful businesses in the country and on the continent. And that's why the A Game Business Blueprint was written.
Sorry, say that last thing again, KK. That's why?
So that's why the A Game Business Blueprint was written.
Okay. So I wanted to just come back to that. Tell us about A Game. What you talk about A Game, and your books are the A Game Business Blueprint, the A Game. So how does KK relate to the A Game?
So one of my let's say two of my values or things that I value are quality and being the best that you can be. So being exceptional at what you do. And when I discovered the concept of A Game, I thought, hey, that speaks to me so much that I needed to see how I could integrate that into who I am as an individual and ultimately into the business. Because I used to have a business name that we were using to trade some years ago. And we decided to, we've always been searching for this name. And then when I discovered this name, I convinced my guys that, we would use it for the business as well. But A Game really means playing at your highest level of performance. And we believe that if you don't bring your A game with you, then you don't stand a chance. And another way we look at it is that your A game is really your swagger, right? It's the swagger that you bring when you're about to tackle something difficult. And it's about bringing your strongest determination in order to succeed, AKA bring your game face on. And you'll see that we've got a mannequin that uses a war paint. So people who go to war, who prepare themselves for war, would typically, like soldiers and warriors, and they would typically paint their faces, with different paint all over the faces and sometimes their body. That is really paint that's used, that's applied before going into battle. it's good for mental preparation and you know, putting yourself in the zone in order to manage your emotions. And also, funny enough, it actually helps you to cut the harshness of the glare of the sun, so that if you are facing your enemy or the task and you have the sun in front of you, you know, the war paint helps you to reduce that slightly. So that's really the A game concept. It's about being exceptional always and all the time.
Exceptional and brave. You know, that's the warrior spirit. And I can't help but point out your jacket. Shaka Zulu Warrior School. It just seems like that's the appropriate message for this.
Yeah.
The power, and you know, when you think about a warrior, the focus, the training, the preparation, the strategy, all of that goes into being a warrior, and all of those things are pulled in your books.
Sure.
And so I really love that, and it creates an energy, doesn't it, for
it does.
business? Because sometimes when you talk about processes and systems and methodology, you know, people can feel like, oh, it's a bit dry, you know, it's and yet what you are conveying is that is actually the very way that you become the best, that you become
100%
the exceptional person and business that you want to be.
100%. You know, it enables you. I think when you have process and steps that you know you need to follow, it unlocks your creativity, right? It says, okay, now that I've got the basics down, I don't have to mentally think about it. Let me unlock the emotions, the creative aspect of things. Let me unlock the soul and bring it into what I'm trying to achieve here. And I think sometimes we believe, like you rightfully said, Lee, sometimes we believe that process takes the human and the emotions out of what we are wanting to do, but it actually enables it that much more.
Yeah, I really love that. I love the idea that what you're providing is, and what you are offering through your books and through your thinking, is the mastery of these foundational steps, and that those then become, once you've got that, they're just subliminal, they're just they're just given, and then the rest is what you bring, you know, the A game that you bring in terms of your creativity and personality and style and uniqueness. And it makes it a very exciting adventure. So that's amazing. So KK, your each of the you've got these. It starts with the blueprint, and then you as you say, the others are built onto that. Sales, marketing, digital transformation. So sales and marketing, then inbound marketing, and then digital transformation. So how could you just give us, maybe, I know this might be hard, but what is the core takeaway from each one of those books?
Okay. So, you know, I never really thought of it this way, but it's, in as much as I started writing the blueprint first before the climb came, it's almost like the climb is really the first piece of the A-game business methodology, because it's really about personal transformation, right? It's really about values and personal values, and it's about vision, it's about goals, it's about purpose, and it's about who we are as people and how we can be the best people for ourselves and for the people around us and for the world, and for us to give us our best selves to the world. So that's really the takeaway from the climb, is who are you and who do you want to become? And the takeaway in the A-game business blueprint is really about enabling, or having a methodology that enables business people to build businesses that are self-managing, i.e., learn this overarching process and methodology that can teach you to build your dream business, and a business that can one day function and successfully operate without you having the business rely on you at all. It creates and it empowers people to have what we call entrepreneurial freedom, to build a business that you can still earn wealth and prosperity from without it no longer relying on you. So that's really the takeaway from the A-Game Business Blueprint. And then the follow-up book was the A-Game Marketing and Sales Manual. A lot of businesses, a lot of business people struggle with selling. And so a couple of levels before, before what you do, Lee, which is at least part of what you do, which is executive sales program, deal making and negotiation, are really the fundamentals and the foundational sales processes. And that's where the A-Game Marketing and Sales Manual comes in. Number one is it teaches the major differences between the two and how to get the two to work together, and ultimately how to use the systems, right? How to systematize that whole marketing and sales process and how to get them to work together. So, and I know a lot of businesses have been struggling with marketing and sales, and they are going to struggle even a lot more now during lockdown and post whatever this new normal will look like after the lockdown and after COVID-19, if we're ever going to have a after COVID-19 world. So the manual really speaks to that marketing and sales, because that's always, I believe, the next step after your business idea, your products and your services. You need to get more customers, right? Because without your customers, without any customers, there really isn't a business. And then sales and marketing changed a lot over the last 10 years. So what we did is we built another layer on top using the inbound marketing methodology, which is marketing and sales changed drastically. So how can you complement and how can you mitigate the risks that a lot of businesses are facing in as far as the lack of knowledge and the lack of systems around specifically inbound marketing? So that builds on top of the manual. And as I mentioned earlier, I'd always been working with, I worked for Sage at least, just about nearly 2 decades ago, actually. And what I walked away with was from having worked for Sage was the importance of systems. How do you implement systems throughout your entire business? Because it's not just about having a bookkeeping system, a payroll system, a CRM for your marketing and sales, but how do you systematize all the business functions? And that's where the birth of Thrive, the digital transformation book, came about. And because I'm logical systems and I'm creative as well, I literally took those two parts and said, if you want to build a human business, a human-centered business that will continue to operate beyond yourself and beyond what we call digital disruption and any disruption that may happen is doing something better than you, follow this methodology, follow this principle, which is digital transformation. And digital transformation meaning, how can we evolve? How can we transform the way that we as a business deliver value to our customers in a way that will meet the expectations of the customers in the digital era? So that's what the digital transformation book Thrive is all about. So that's the takeaway. And it's become such a valuable book, which also birthed the Digital Transformation Online Summit, which took place a few weeks ago, which you were part of. And thanks again for being part of it, because you really helped to provide, that edge that we needed as well for the summit. And I guess those are really the takeaways from each one of those books. And we've done our best to package them in a way that they are easy to read. The concepts really pop from the pages and really make sense in a way that one can say, okay, I've done that, or I haven't done that, let me try this. And also, a lot of authors will tell you about what you need to do. What really is a thread throughout the books is how to do it. We made sure that we were going that extra step to show people exactly how to do what they need to do. That's about it.
Thanks, KK. I want to just pick up on two things, and it's basically related to the last two books. For somebody who is an absolute beginner and maybe at the early stages of developing a sales and marketing strategy and so on, what is inbound marketing? Just give us a...
Sure. Inbound marketing, and maybe let me start with where the need came from. So, decades and decades ago, as a business, you didn't face much competition, and equally, the customer didn't have much choices in as far as products and services were concerned. But as time went by, you'd have competitors who are offering the same product as you, who are meeting and sometimes would beat your unique selling proposition, right? And as far as products and services are concerned. And there was, technology and the internet were coming up, and they were accelerating, obviously, at the pace that we've all come to understand now. And they were fueling just how knowledgeable, customers have become to be. And so customers started realizing not only the untrustworthiness of some businesses, but also that businesses tend to have only the agenda of profit on their minds, i.e., they just want to sell me stuff. So the birth of inbound marketing really came as a result of how businesses started putting customers at the center, i.e., how do we make our customer become successful in using our products and services? And in order to do that, businesses needed to start developing content, and that's where content marketing came about. So inbound marketing is really about using all the different pieces of the content, number one, to educate prospective customers. So how do I educate prospective customers about how they can go about solving the problems that they're facing, overcoming the challenges, and so forth? And then only can I then show them how they can use my products in order to overcome those challenges and to solve their problems. So inbound marketing is about having a message that speaks to solving your client's problems and not just selling your products. And that's one of those key things that businesses need to understand and business people need to understand is you have a product, but your customer has a problem that they want to solve. And inbound is how can you educate them about how they can go about solving their problem, and then only bring your product into the equation. So it's that's what inbound marketing is about. And a lot of that relies on a customer relationship management system, a marketing automation system. So those two pieces come together in the form of a system, a tool that you then use to automate the communication, or as much as possible of that communication. And that's why we have opt-in leads or landing pages that would typically give us a lead magnet, ebooks, videos, and so forth, because businesses are creating all of this content that we can then use to better ourselves as customers.
I think that's what I appreciate about that book in particular, is that these are words that get thrown around, or concepts, content marketing, and ebooks and so on, and it can be very confusing. And also just not knowing what to do, when and how, for what purpose. And the fact that you bring these concepts together, you pull them out step by step and create a process that helps people to string them together in a way that's workable and that's relevant in today's markets. And where we find ourselves now. Just give us a brief, I want to go back just to what you were talking about in terms of digital transformation, and the fact that you have sort of gone from the book, and as you say, it's your learning journey, and so we follow your path as well, which is exciting. But from the digital transformation book, you've actually hosted and put together this incredible summit. Why don't you just give us an overview of what the summit was, and if anybody is interested in learning more about the summit or gaining from that summit, how would they do that?
So what, like most books, there's a dance between what came first. Was it the book or the content in terms of the workshops we have, the consulting tools that we use? And it's all just a mixture of all of these things, right? In almost all cases, the books came out of pieces of the content, workshop material, consulting material, and then we take the best, not so much the best, but call it the synopsis of each module that we would teach around a particular topic or subject, and we create a book out of it. And so the same thing happened with the digital transformation. When we took a whole subset of different modules that we typically teach, things like leadership development, things like how to train people, things like what are business processes and how do you design business processes, and when you are done with these business processes, what do you do with them? You take those processes and you automate them using systems. So we have all of these workshops and all of these consulting engagements that we do with our clients. And so we really, took pieces out and a synopsis, we put it into a book. However, that's all made up of workshop material. And so we figured, okay, what would be another platform through which we teach and share this content? Because, some people can read, some people enjoy reading, right? But in reading, some people like text and images, but also some people would rather watch videos, would rather listen to somebody speak. And so that's where the birth of the Digital Transformation Online Summit came about. And it's actually more complex than we figured initially when we started packaging digital transformation as a service about 2 years ago. We realized that it's not just about technology, it's about business strategy. It's about leadership. It's about customer experience. It's about employee experience. It's about marketing. It's about sales. And really, the core of technology as well. So we took all of these pieces together and said, how do we share these with people in another format besides just books? And not only did we look at what our specialists or our areas of contribution is around digital transformation, but then we went out to look at obviously partnering with partners such as yourself, people that we typically work with. I have colleagues in the US, in Nigeria and other countries, and I pretty much ask everybody to contribute to the Digital Transformation Online Summit, because it wasn't a KK or an A-game business show. It wasn't just about us. It was really about the customer. Going back to inbound marketing, is how do we all work together to create content that we can use to help our customers become more successful. And that's why the Digital Transformation Online Summit was created. And it's really one of those few things, or rather one of those many things that we're very proud of. And we could have not done it because of COVID-19, but we figured we're going to go through with it. And I'm so glad that we did. And and talking about how people can access the Digital Transformation Online Summit. It's been 2 weeks since we've had it, so we've taken away all the main direct links. So somebody would either need to contact us and request access to the Digital Transformation Online Summit. But we'll make sure that we include the link on this video, so they can definitely use that URL, which is agamebusiness.com/DTOS, which is short for Digital Transformation Online Summit. Again, we'll share the URL for those who'd still like to access it, but it will be for a limited time, because we are actually considering packaging it as an online course instead, so that again, it's the transformation of the content, and it just keeps going and going. So that's about it.
Thank you. Well, I mean, the parts that I participated in, there's just incredible value. So it definitely does need to be a course that will be well worth whatever people pay for it, because the thing of the expertise, it really is going to trigger completely new and different and very relevant ways to engage technology, digitization, and be relevant for today. KK, again, we live in this strange world, don't we? That especially here in South Africa, where we for IR, we are technologically savvy in many, many ways, and wanting to constantly keep on top of the A game in terms of technology.
Yes.
Yet we have an economy and an environment which has historically just come from a very, very difficult place. And we've got
Yes.
contrast between rich and poor, the haves, have-nots, and very different contexts.
Yes.
You write your books specifically for South Africa. You place yourself squarely in this context. So why don't you just talk us through a little bit around how your books and what you do, how are they relevant to this bipolar context that we live in South Africa?
Sure. That's also I guess not just a great question, Lee, but a very personal question for me. Having had come from where I come from, I was born on the largest citrus farm in the Southern Hemisphere, Zibidela, in Zibidela. It was called Zibidela Citrus Farm at the time. And, my parents then, we moved to Ermelo, which was, one of the townships, at least in Ermelo. And then I got to stay with my cousin in Polokwane, and obviously his mom and the siblings. And then we got to live in Johannesburg, or rather the eastern end of Johannesburg. And then I went to college in Johannesburg. All of these places have got such contrasting context, right? And people who come from these, rural areas would obviously don't have the same context as people who are born and raised in urban areas, because you get exposed to so much. And I've had the privilege of being exposed to, other countries and having been taught by people who have even greater context and greater experience than I do. And all of that creates context from which we then operate from. Just to bring this home even closer, someone who comes from Soweto, for example, in almost all cases, we don't have the privilege of being able to eat with the entire family around the dinner table, number one. And secondly, being able to speak to our parents about what they do at work, especially, and even so, that's if our parents have jobs. And it would be so much better if our parents also had started their own businesses. Because can you imagine then the call it the lack that we have around context in terms of learning about what our parents are doing, not only at work, but in the business. And so we don't have that context. We don't grow up with that context. And so it was important for me to be able to bridge that gap in the books that I write, is to create that context. Yes, you may come from this place. Maybe this is what you've missed out on, right? But if you have that context, okay, maybe skip this section and go to that section. So if I feel that if I had missed out on providing that context, my books would continue to not make sense to a great majority of the readers, at least, and those who will want to take up that book. Because there's so many of my readers are actually first-time entrepreneurs. They're first-generation entrepreneurs in their families. And so it was really important for me to play that part, because I believe I was a little luckier, because one of my uncles and my grandfather had started their own shops as well. So, I got to see it a little bit. I didn't learn from it. I didn't learn about it, but I got to see it. But as I grew up, I had more context than those who start their businesses in their mid-20s and later. So it was really important to create that context. I think it helps to bridge that gap.
Thanks, KK. What I appreciate about your books is that while you provide that context, and therefore it's easy to understand that they are not simplistic. So they take into account the processing that the individual themselves need to do in order to
Yes.
apply. So although the South African context in all its various dynamics are taken into account, anybody at any point in their business would still get value from your books.
I agree.
So
I agree.
I think that comes through very strongly.
And then just talking about that quickly,
Yes.
you know, there's a chief financial officer of a listed company who contacted me last week. So we're talking about something, and he says a few weeks ago he bought my book. He bought the A-Game Business Blueprint, and he says he got so many nuggets from it. And you know, it was such a proud moment for me. I'm like, wow, you're a CFO of a listed company, and you were able to pick up those those nuggets from that book. So again, just to echo your words, you know, somebody, you know, people will always be able to have something that they can pick up and learn from the book. And they're not shallow concepts. We go deep. We ask people to go a couple of levels deeper in order, you know, for them to really take something out that they can utilize in their business.
KK, we've had such a great discussion. I've really enjoyed it. And but I've got one last question for you. What's next? Watch the space. Where is KK going?
So you know, in the A-Game series of books, I had planned 5 books, right? So there was the climb, and then there was going to be the 5 other books. And the digital transformation book came by surprise. It wasn't a planned book, and neither is the next one, because the next one really talks about how the average entrepreneur can go digital. So it isn't just about digitally transforming an organization, but it's within the context of COVID-19. You know, how do we take those people who never thought they had the need to digitally transform their businesses? So there's a book that I'm working on. I don't have a title for it yet, but it'll be out by June. Okay, I can promise you that, because there's so much content already that I'll just piece together. So, and the concepts I'm working with are go digital or stay home. But then we're all working from home, so it should either be go digital and stay home. So again, those are just these concepts that I'm working with. However, the next book after that is, which I've been working on for years as well, is called The A-Game Business Leader. So that's really a difficult book for me, but I'm enjoying the challenge. And it talks about handing over. It talks about being vulnerable all over again, and putting your baby and your business in the hands of others so that you can have the opportunity to remove yourself from the business. So I'm excited about that book, that process. And hopefully after that, I'll do one called the A-Game Youngpreneur, which is really about, you know, the youngster who wants to start a business. And I'll be going full circle, because that's where I started when I was 8-9 years old. So that's the A-Game Business series.
Yeah, it's just going to keep going, isn't it? Because the one leads to the next leads to the next. So it's endless string. And so we follow in your journey, and you sharing with us. And so, really appreciate that we get to follow your path and receive from your wisdom. So thank you for that, KK. And thank you for your time now. And so we look forward. We'll post all the information in terms of how to get hold of your books. We'll include as part of this video. And so you can get in touch with KK or get hold of his books. And we look forward to watching what lies ahead.
Thank you, Leah. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Bye.